Okay, so let's unpack this. I want you to close your eyes for just a second. I want you to imagine you're looking out your window. It's gray.
Just gray.
And it is, I mean, it's undeniably bone-chillingly cold. The ground outside isn't just covered in snow, it's frozen solid, hard as a rock.
And it has been that way for 3 months.
Right. And just to, raise the stakes a bit.
It's going to stay that way for at least 2 more months.
Exactly. So here's the question that I think we, in our modern world of, supermarkets and Uber Eats, we completely forget to ask. How do you feed your family? Not just what's for dinner, but how do you actually survive without starving? Today on The Deep Dive, we're heading east. We are tackling a massive, complex, and frankly, a delicious topic, Eastern European cuisine.
It is a topic that is, I think, finally getting the respect it deserves. For a long time, the global culinary conversation it sort of skipped over this region.
Oh, totally.
It was dismissed as just heavy or monotonous.
Heavy, monotonous, gray. If I ask the average person on the street, what they think of when I say Eastern European food, what are they going to say?
Let me guess. Potatoes.
Boiled potatoes. Maybe some gray meat and sadness.
And cabbage. Can't forget the cabbage.
Miles and miles of cabbage.
Yeah.
But as we went through this massive stack of research for this deep dive, the articles, the history, the regional breakdowns, that stereotype doesn't just fall apart.
No.
It gets completely obliterated. This isn't just about recipes or grandma's dumplings, is it?
Not at all. It's a story of survival. It's a story of resilience.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the sources we looked at used a phrase that I have not been able to get out of my head.
Yeah.
They described it as winter-hardened food.
Winter-hardened. I love that. It makes the food sound like it's wearing armor.
Well, in a way, it is. It has to be. If you want to understand why pierogi looks the way it does, or why borscht tastes the way it does, you can't start with a chef in a white coat. You have to start with the weather. You have to start with the fact that for centuries, the people in this region were fighting a war against the climate.
And that is our mission today. We are going to try to identify what connects this massive chunk of the planet. I mean, we're talking about a region stretching from the frozen forests of Finland and the Baltics in the north, down through the plains of Poland and Ukraine, all the way to the sunnier, mountainous Balkans in the south.
That's thousands of miles. It covers dozens of cultures, languages, histories.
So is there?
Yeah.
Is there even a shared identity? What connects a Latvian smoked fish to a Serbian grilled sausage? And where do the culinary fault lines lie? Because I have a feeling a dinner in Tallinn looks very, very different from a dinner in Sofia.
And to answer that, we have to use what the research calls the ecosystem approach.
Okay.
We can't just look at national borders. Those have changed 100 times.
100 times in the last couple centuries, yeah.
We have to look at the land. We have to look at the weather.
So if we had to boil it all down, and pun intended there, and give the listener the one-sentence identity of this cuisine before we really get into the weeds. What is it?
Okay, the one-sentence identity. Based on everything we've reviewed, I would define it as a winter-hardened, pantry-driven cuisine built on preservation, dough craft, and a very specific flavor profile of sour plus savory comfort.
Wow.
It's a cuisine where thrift becomes art and where hospitality is essentially proof of character.
Thrift becomes art. That is a beautiful phrase, but let's be real for a second. Usually when we hear thrift in cooking, we think of bland, watery soup. We think of poverty food.
Right. We think of gruel or stretching a meal until it has no flavor left.
Exactly. So how does thrift become art here? How do you take a humble cabbage and make it something people actually crave?
You transform it. That's the key.
Okay.
You ferment it. You take that cheap cabbage. You add salt. You let bacteria do all the work. And suddenly you have sauerkraut.
Right.
It's crunchy. It's sour. It's complex. It's got more vitamins than when you started.
You turned a penny into $1.
Just by using time. That is the art.
And the tone of it all. The notes describe it as stoic, resilient, built for endurance, quietly intense under the surface. That sounds less like a menu and more like a character in a Dostoevsky novel.
Well, the food reflects the people. It's not flashy. It doesn't shout, but it has this deep, sustaining power.
Okay, let's jump in. Section 1, the why. Climate and geography as the architect.
This is the spine of the entire cuisine. Before there were empires, before there was trade, before there were even nations.
There was the weather.
There was the weather. And in the vast majority of this region, we're talking the Slavic core, the Baltics, You are dealing with a continental climate.
Wait, hold on a second. When you say continental climate, I think a lot of us just hear it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
But New York is cold. Chicago is cold. London is cold. Why is the climate in, say, Belarus or Poland so dictatorial for the food?
It's not just the temperature, it's the duration and the extremity.
Ah.
In London, you might get a frost, but things stay green, it rains, the ground is soft. In the Slavic core, the ground freezes solid like concrete in November, and it stays that way until April.
So it's a total lockdown.
A total agricultural lockdown. You aren't just wearing a coat, you are living in a freezer for 5 months of the year.
So if you didn't plan ahead,
If you didn't put food in a jar or a cellar or a barrel back in September, you are mathematically going to starve by March. It's that simple.
that is high stakes cooking. That puts my Sunday meal prep in a whole new perspective.
It is the highest stakes. So the entire logic of the cuisine is built around that single threat.
Right.
You don't build a cuisine around fragile leafy greens like basil or delicate salad lettuces.
No, they die in a day.
They die in a day. You build a cuisine around storage.
And this is that survival logic we saw in the notes.
Yeah.
It dictates absolutely everything. It's why root vegetables are king.
Correct. Beets, carrots, onions, turnips, and later potatoes. These are the storage vegetables.
Why them specifically?
You can throw them in a root cellar, cover them with straw or just dirt, and they will still be edible 4 or 5 months later. They are tough. They are resilient. That's why they are the stars of the show.
And it also explains the caloric imperative. I think nowadays in our modern diet culture, we look at Eastern European food and go, whoa, that is a lot of carbs. That is a lot of fat.
Mm-hmm.
But historically, that wasn't indulgence, was it?
No, that was fuel. It was absolutely fuel. You have to remember, people were working physically hard in freezing temperature. Chopping wood, tending to animals, walking miles through heavy snow. You are burning a massive amount of energy just to stay warm.
The light salad is not going to cut it.
A light salad is a death sentence in a Polish winter. You need density, you need fat, you need carbs.
So if the climate is the architect, let's talk about the materials they use to build this house. The research calls it the structural pantry. If we travel from Estonia in the north all the way down to Bulgaria in the south, what are the things that stay the same? What's the connective tissue?
There are really 5 pillars that hold up the roof across the entire region.
Okay.
First, and maybe most importantly, is the marriage of sour and dairy.
Sour and dairy.
I see this everywhere. Sour cream, cultured milk, fresh cheese like Twivarog or Quark. It's almost never just plain milk. It's milk that has been transformed by bacteria.
Which, again, goes back to preservation, right?
Mm.
Fresh milk spoils in days.
But cultured milk lasts. Kefir lasts. Sour cream lasts. It's a way of extending the life of this incredible nutrient source. Precisely.
Okay, pillar 1, sour and dairy. What's number 2?
The second pillar is pickle culture. And I don't just mean a cucumber on the side of a sandwich like you get in a New York deli.
No, this is different.
This is the whole philosophy. We mean cucumbers, cabbage, beets, tomatoes, mushrooms, even apples and watermelons.
And they're used as ingredients, not just garnishes.
Exactly. You might put sauerkraut in the soup or in the dumpling. You might use the pickle brine itself as the acid in a sauce.
It's a vegetable source when all the fresh vegetables are long dead.
That's it. It's your February salad.
Okay, so sour dairy, pickle culture. What's third?
Third is dough engineering. This mantra of wrap it, boil it, bake it. Whether it's pierogi in Poland, pelmeni in Russia, varniki in Ukraine, or even pastries in the Balkans. The idea of encasing a caloric filling inside a protective dough shell is universal.
It's the ultimate comfort food package. It's portable, it's warm, it's filling. It's a complete meal in one bite.
And a brilliant way to stretch a small amount of expensive filling like meat with a large amount of cheap dough.
Thrift into art, again.
Number
4.
Fourth is soup as a pillar. In many Western cuisines, soup is an appetizer, a starter.
Right, a little cup before the main course.
In Eastern Europe, soup is the meal. It is brothy, creamy, often sour, and it's built to be sustaining. You have soup for lunch, soup for dinner.
Sometimes soup for breakfast.
Absolutely. It warms you from the inside out. It rehydrates you. It's medicine.
And finally, the 5th pillar.
Humble ingredients. There's a deep, deep respect for the ingredients that other cuisines might throw away or look down upon.
Like what?
Potatoes, cabbage, pork knuckle, stale bread, organ meats. The cuisine takes these humble things and treats them with immense seriousness and creativity.
I want to zoom in on that sour aspect again.
Yes.
Because in the source material, there's this great section about the taste profile. Section 2 of our outline. The experts describe the flavor axis as savory plus sour plus mild sweetness.
Yes. And that sour is the one that really defines the region. If you take away the sourness, the whole structure just collapses.
But why? Why is sourness so important structurally? Is it just because they like the taste?
No, it's functional. It's deeply functional. Think about the other heavy elements we just discussed.
Pork fat.
Pork fat,
Tansto.
potatoes, cream.
Okay.
If you just eat those things together, it is incredibly heavy. It coats your palate. It becomes monotonous after a few bites.
Wait, it's like palate fatigue. You just get overwhelmed by the richness.
Exactly. Now think of the sourness, whether it comes from fermented cabbage juice, beet ferment, or sour cream. Think of it as a windshield wiper for your tongue.
A windshield wiper for your tongue. I love that image.
When you eat something high in animal fat, like a piece of sausage or a potato drenched in butter, that fat coats your palate. It creates a film. If you take another bite of fat, you actually taste it less. The sourness cuts right through that lipid layer. It strips the fat away and resets your taste buds. It acts like a laser.
So when you eat a rich pork stew and you have a side of fermented pickles, that acid from the pickle cleanses your palate so you can take the next bite of fatty meat and actually enjoy it just as much as the first.
Precisely. It allows you to eat more fat, which, remember, in a survival context is the goal. More calories.
We should clarify, it's not the sharp, aggressive vinegar sourness we might be used to in, say, a bag of salt and vinegar chips. It's different, right?
Very different. It's a lactic acid sourness. It comes from fermentation.
Lactic acid.
So it's a mellower, deeper, more complex sourness. It's the sourness of sourdough bread or kefir or a good yogurt, not white distilled vinegar that just burns your throat. It has flavor, not just acid.
And then you have the umami. But it's not the umami of, say, soy sauce or Parmesan cheese.
No, it's a slow umami. It's an umami that's built through time.
What do you mean by that?
It comes from drying mushrooms, which concentrates their flavor intensely. It comes from smoking meats over wood for days. And it comes from simmering bones for hours and hours to make a rich broth.
So it's not an instant hit. It's a deep, earthy savoriness that you have to work for.
You have to work for it. And the sweetness, because we aren't talking about adding sugar here.
No.
We are talking about root vegetable sweetness. When you cook an onion for 45 minutes, it caramelizes. It becomes sweet.
Right.
When you roast a beet or a carrot, the natural sugars concentrate. That is the sweetness of Eastern Europe, earthy and natural, not a spoonful of white sugar.
I love the point the research made about texture and mouthfeel, too.
Yeah.
That it's about the architecture in the bowl.
Yes. They love contrast. It's so important.
Give me an example.
A hot, steaming red beet soup borscht served with a cold, thick dollop of sour cream. That temperature contrast is crucial.
Right, the hot and the cold.
Or soft boiled dumplings served with crunchy fermented pickles. Or rich, tender, fatty pork against the acidic crunch of sauerkraut.
So it's not just about taste, it's about keeping the mouth interested. It's a physical experience.
Exactly. It's a full sensory experience. Hot, cold, soft, crunchy, rich, acidic, all in one bite.
Okay, so we've established the common ground, the foundation, the shared logic. Now let's get into the fault lines. Because while there is a shared logic, as you said, a dinner in Tallinn, Estonia looks very different from a dinner in Sofia, Bulgaria.
Night and day.
Let's take a tour of the 4 zones. Where should we start?
We have to start in Zone 1, the Slavic core, the heartland.
Poland, Ukraine, Russia, Belarus. This feels like the gravitational center of the cuisine.
It is. This is where the stereotype, and I mean that in the best, most authentic way of Eastern European food lives. It is dense, grounded, and stoic.
What are we seeing on the table here? If I walk into a farmhouse in rural Poland, what's being served?
You are seeing the Holy Trinity: beets, cabbage, and potatoes. This is where you find the deepest obsession with rye bread and buckwheat, or kasha.
And structurally, this is the land of the sour soup.
Absolutely. Borscht, in all its 10,000 variations, Ukrainian, Polish, Russian reigns supreme here. But also sour cabbage soup, or shi, or sour rice soup, yurek.
The sourness is everywhere.
It's the baseline.
And the dumplings. We can't ignore the dumplings.
Oh, the dumplings are non-negotiable. Whether they're boiled, filled with potato and cheese, or meat, or sauerkraut, or sweet berries in the summer.
So visually, this zone is characterized by deep red soups with those dollops of white sour cream and plates of white dough
Mm-hmm.
with golden fried onions and bright green dill. It's a very specific color palette.
It is. Red, white, and green.
Okay, let's travel north, Zone 2. The Baltics, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. We're moving toward the coast and deeper into the forest. How does the food change?
The landscape changes and the menu changes with it. You are leaving those endless open wheat and sunflower fields of Ukraine and entering deep, dense birch forests and rocky coastlines. So the food stops being primarily about farming and starts being more about foraging and fishing.
It feels darker, quieter.
That is the perfect word for it. The bread goes from a light rye to this incredibly dark, dense, almost black rye bread. It's almost sweet. It's so dense.
And the protein.
The protein shifts from pork sausages to smoked sprats and eels and herring. It feels more ancient in a way.
How so?
The Slavic core is loud and agricultural. The Baltics are quiet, forested, and maritime. You are eating what you found in the woods. Mushrooms, berries, or what you pulled from the cold sea. The seasoning is cleaner, too. Less garlic and onion, more dill and caraway.
Okay, now let's make a dramatic shift.
Mhm.
We're getting on a train and heading south, way south.
Hmm.
Zone 3, the Balkans. Serbia, Bulgaria, Romania, Croatia.
This is a massive fault line. You step off the train, and the air smells different.
How does it smell?
It smells like smoke and grilling meat.
And the sun is shining.
The sun is shining, and that changes the agriculture entirely. Suddenly, you can grow peppers. You can grow eggplants. You can grow tomatoes, things that would never survive a Polish winter.
And you have the history here. You have the Ottoman Empire, which we'll get to later.
That is the key historical layer. The Ottoman legacy is everywhere. It brought grilling culture, those minced meat logs like savapi or chvapichi.
Right.
It brought phyllo dough pastries, both sweet and savory. It brought coffee culture, and it brought yogurt.
Wait, yogurt. How is that different from the sour cream we saw in the north?
Texture and acidity. In the north, they use sour cream, which is very high in fat, very rich, thick. In the Balkans, you see yogurt-based sauces, often with garlic. It's lighter, tannier, more acidic. It's a huge shift.
And paprika. The color changes.
Yes, the color of the food changes completely. It goes from the beet red of the north to the rusty, earthy red of paprika and peppers. It's louder. The flavors are more aromatic, more sun-touched. It's more Mediterranean, but still distinctly Eastern European.
And finally, Zone 4. The northern edge. Finland. Now, technically this is Nordic, but our sources include it for a reason.
Right. They include it because it shares that core climate logic,
The need for preservation.
the preservation necessity, the rye bread, the root cellars, the short growing season. It shares the same problem.
But the flavor grammar is different.
Very different. It's the outlier. It's minimalist.
How so? What does that mean on the plate?
You don't have the heavy garlic and onion base of the Slavic core. You have creamy salmon soups. You have berries, lingonberries, cloudberries used in savory ways with meat. It shares the winter-hardened DNA, but it expresses it with a very Nordic restraint. It's cleaner, simpler, less layered.
So we have the geography, but as you mentioned earlier, this isn't just about where we are, but when we are.
Exactly.
Cuisine didn't just appear out of nowhere. The research calls it a layered build.
Yeah.
So let's do an archaeological dig, Section 4, the historical layers.
Let's do it. Think of it like a geological dig. You dig down and you find different eras of food history stacked on top of each other.
So what's the bedrock? Layer 1, the bottom layer.
Layer 1 is the agricultural skeleton. This is pre-empire, pre-trade. This is pure peasant subsistence. And here's the shocker. Before the 16th century, there were no potatoes.
That is wild to think about. No potatoes in Poland, no potatoes in Russia. What on earth were they eating?
Turnips, rutabaga, and rye.
Turnips?
Rye was the king of grains because it survives in cold, poor soil where wheat just dies. So for centuries, the diet was a dense rye bread, turnips, cabbage, onions, and forage mushrooms. That was it.
That sounds rough.
It was incredibly rough. Famine was a constant, real threat. The turnip is reliable, but it's not exactly a caloric powerhouse like the potato is.
And then comes layer 2, the Columbian Exchange.
The Quiet Revolution. The potato arrives from the Americas, and it changes everything. It provided caloric security in a way turnips never could. Suddenly, you could feed a family through the winter with much more certainty. It was a miracle crop.
Why did the potato take off so hard there specifically?
Because it grows underground.
Oh.
If a hailstorm hits your wheat field, the crop is destroyed. If a hailstorm hits your potatoes, they're fine underground.
If an army marches through your field.
They trample the wheat, They might miss the potatoes. It was a security crop. It was insurance against disaster.
And it became the foundation for dumplings, pancakes, mashes. So much of what we now think of as iconic.
It's almost impossible to imagine the cuisine without it, but it's a relatively recent addition.
And the corn.
And tomatoes.
Corn became vital in the warmer parts of the Balkans. Think of cornmeal porridges like mamaliga in Romania. And of course, the peppers and tomatoes completely transformed the southern flavor profile. Layer 3 is where the map makers get involved. Empires and trade.
This is where refinement and new techniques come in. In the south, as we discussed, the Ottoman Empire brought spices, sweets, grilling, and stuffed vegetables. Dolma, sarma.
Without them, the Balkans would look much more like the Slavic North.
Much more. And in the center, you have the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
With Vienna as the hub.
Exactly. They brought delicate pastries, strudels, tortas. They brought schnitzel-style frying breading meat and frying it in fat. They brought the urban cafe culture. This is where peasant food met imperial refinement.
And then we have to talk about the massive footprint of the Russian Empire and later the Soviet Union.
This is a complicated layer, a very complicated layer.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the Soviet Union. We can't talk about this region without talking about the USSR. Did the Iron Curtain crush the food culture?
It's fascinating because it did two contradictory things at the exact same time.
Okay.
First, it standardized everything. The Soviets actually published a book literally called The Book of Tasty and Healthy Food.
Sounds like propaganda.
It was. But it was culinary propaganda. It meant that a cafeteria worker in Vladivostok and a cafeteria worker in Kyiv were following the exact same recipe for a meat cutlet or for borscht.
So it created this pan-Soviet taste.
Yes. You walked into a public canteen, a Stolovaya, and you knew exactly what the soup was going to taste like no matter where you were in the Union.
But it also created a cuisine of scarcity, right? I'm thinking the long lines for bread, the empty shelves.
Absolutely. The scarcity adaptations cemented the reliance on cheap, shelf-stable ingredients. Canned fish, mayonnaise, processed cheese, these became staples.
So it limited things.
It limited ingredients, but it also reinforced creativity, how to make something delicious out of almost nothing. That thrift into art concept we talked about. The Soviet era put that into overdrive out of pure necessity.
And we can't forget layer 4, the Jewish influence.
Huge, a massive foundational impact, especially on the food of Poland, Lithuania, and Ukraine.
In what ways?
The braiding of challah bread, specific ways of pickling and preserving meats like brisket, many of the dumpling traditions. These techniques drifted across religious lines and became part of the regional DNA.
So you can't really separate them.
You cannot separate Jewish cuisine from Eastern European cuisine. They are deeply, fundamentally intertwined.
So we've built the house, we've looked at the map, we have dug through the history. Now I want to open the pantry door, section 5. The deep dive into ingredients. Our source lists the Big 10.
The ingredients that could build half the cuisine on their own. Let's list them.
Go for it.
Cabbage, potatoes, rye bread, sour cream, pork, onion, dill, beets, pickles, and butter.
It is a humble list, a very humble list. But let's analyze the starches first. We talked about rye, but why is it so different from the wheat bread we get in the U.S.? Why is it so heavy and dense?
It's all about the fermentation. Rye flour doesn't have the same kind of gluten structure that wheat flour does. If you just add commercial yeast to rye, it doesn't trap the gas well. It turns into a brick. To make it rise properly, you often need a sourdough starter, a sour fermentation process.
And that changes everything.
The acidity from the starter helps structure the bread. It gives it that dense, moist, chewy texture and that distinct tangy flavor. It's bread that sustains you, not just fluffy air.
And buckwheat, or kasha as it's known.
Kasha is fascinating because it's not technically a grain, it's a seed from a plant related to rhubarb.
Wow, I did not know that.
But in the Slavic core, it's a staple. It's nutty, it's earthy, and it was the grain of the people before rice or pasta ever showed up. And it's incredibly nutritious.
Let's talk protein. It seems like pork is the undisputed king.
It is, and that's environmental too.
How so?
Pigs are incredibly efficient. They eat scraps. They can be raised in a small backyard. They mature quickly, and they provide everything. Meat for roasting, fat for lard, intestines for sausage casing. In the inland regions, the pig is the ultimate survival animal.
But in the Baltics and Finland, it shifts to fish.
Yes, but specifically preserved fish. Smoked, salted, dried, pickled. Again, the theme is always, how do we make this protein last through February?
And then there is dairy. But the notes call it the protein of the poor. What does that mean?
Historically, yes. Meat was expensive. Animals were often more valuable for their labor, like an ox pulling a plow, or their milk, than their meat.
You don't kill the cow if you can help it.
You don't kill the asset. So you ate the cheese, farmer's cheese, fresh curds. You ate the sour cream. It provided the fat and protein you needed without having to slaughter the animal.
One herb stands above all others in this region. Dill.
The ubiquitous green. It is everywhere, on potatoes and soup, on fish and pickles mixed into cheese.
Why dill? Why not parsley or basil or cilantro?
Dill is hardy. It grows like a weed in that cooler climate. It reseeds itself easily. You can't kill it.
Okay.
And flavor-wise, it provides this fresh, grassy, almost anise-like lift that, again, cuts through the heavy, starchy, fatty flavors. It wakes up the potato.
And spices. We mentioned the lack of heat.
Restraint is the key. The core spices are black pepper, bay leaf, caraway, and maybe horseradish for a bit of pungent heat.
So they're warming spices, not hot spices.
Exactly. The only major exception, as we noted, is the Balkans, with their heavy use of paprika and red pepper flakes from the Ottoman influence.
Let's pivot to the people.
Yeah.
Because food is just biology until people get involved. Section 6, culture and psychology. The food is survival mindset.
This is where it gets emotional. This is where you see the history on the table.
How so?
In Eastern Europe, hospitality is not just a nice thing to do, it is a moral obligation.
We read about this concept of aggressive hospitality.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yes. If you visit a home in this region, especially an older person's home, you will be fed.
Even if you just ate.
Even if you just ate, even if the hosts have very little money, even if they have to open their last jar of precious pickles that was meant for the winter, the guest comes first.
Why is that? Is it just extreme politeness?
No, it goes deeper than that. It stems from the psychology of scarcity. The mindset is a full table equals dignity.
A full table equals dignity.
If I can feed you, I am demonstrating that I am strong. I am demonstrating that my family is secure, that I can protect you. To hoard food would be a sign of weakness or fear. To share it, even when you have little, is a sign of power and resilience.
And that leads to the incredible awkwardness of refusing food. I've been there, where you're physically full, but they just keep putting food on your plate.
Right. In some cultures, it's polite to say no thank you once or twice. In this region, refusing food is often interpreted as a rejection of the person.
Wow.
You are rejecting their protection. You are rejecting their dignity. You're saying, your food is not good enough or your home is not safe enough, so you eat. You find more room.
That is heavy. That's a lot of pressure.
It is. It's deep.
And there is a big difference between daily food and celebration food.
Huge. A chasm. Daily food is quiet. It's soup-centered. It's often meat-light. It's built for warmth and satiety. It's the Monday through Saturday survival food.
But then comes the feast. Easter. Christmas.
Yeah.
A wedding.
And the table groans under the weight of the food. Whole roasted meats, dozens of stuffed cabbage rolls, 7 different kinds of salads, most involving mayonnaise, cakes, pastries. It is abundant to the point of being overwhelming.
What is the symbolism there? Why the overwhelming amount?
It's a statement. It says, we survived the winter, we survived the famine, we survived the hardship, we have enough, you are safe here. It is a defiance of the scarcity that defined so much of their history. It's a victory lap on a plate.
And the rituals tie into the church, too, right? The calendar.
Definitely. The Orthodox and Catholic calendars dictate the diet for much of the year. You have these long periods of fasting Lent being the biggest one, where you give up meat and dairy.
And that must have had a huge impact on the cuisine.
It forced the cuisine to get really creative with mushrooms, grains, beans, and vegetable oils. It created a whole parallel universe of Lenten dishes. And then when the fast breaks at Easter, the feast is even more explosive and meaningful because of the deprivation that came before it.
I love the image of the communal labor that was mentioned in the notes. The idea of grandmother's transmitting technique.
This is crucial. This is how the culture survives. You don't learn how to make perfect dumplings from a book or a YouTube video.
No.
You learn it by standing next to your grandmother for 10 years, feeling the dough with your hands. You learn the texture. You don't learn how to ferment cabbage by a recipe. You learn the smell of it, the feel of it.
So the food prep itself is a ritual.
The pickling season in late summer, the sausage making in early winter. This is the social glue of the community. It's where stories are told. It's where the knowledge is passed down.
Let's talk about those techniques. Section 7. The philosophy of cooking. We've touched on preservation, but I want to go deeper into this idea of patience over precision.
This is a great distinction. In, say, classic French cuisine, there is an obsession with precision.
Exact knife cuts, exact temperatures, mother sauces.
Exactly. In Eastern European peasant cooking, it is about patience. It's a different virtue.
Oh, so what does that look like in the kitchen?
It's about the long, slow simmer. Putting a tough cut of meat and some root vegetables in a pot and just letting it go for 4 hours until it yields and becomes tender.
It's not about a quick sear.
No, it's about the slow fermentation of cabbage that takes weeks. It's about working dough by hand until it feels right, not because a timer went off. It's an intuitive, sensory way of cooking, not a technical, measured one.
And the concept of resource efficiency. We touched on it with the pork.
Whole animal usage, head cheese, jellied meats, liver pate, blood sausage. Nothing is wasted because, historically, waste was immoral.
Immoral.
The animal gave its life. You use every single part of it out of respect and out of necessity.
And what about the sauces? You mentioned no French mother sauces.
Right. You don't see bechamel or hollandaise. The sauces are much more primal. They are the pan drippings from a roast. They are a big spoonful of sour cream stirred into the pot at the end. They are vegetable purees. The thickeners aren't elaborate roux. They are a bit of sour cream or just some flour sprinkled into the fat. It's rustic, direct flavor.
So we've covered the climate, the taste, the regions, the history, the pantry, the culture, and the technique. This has been a massive journey.
It really has, from the Baltic Sea to the Balkans.
If we look at the outro, the summary, we defined the identity at the start as a cuisine of resilience. Do you still stand by that?
100%. A cuisine of resilience, of sour depth, and of dense, profound comfort. It is not flashy. It is not delicate. It is sustaining, and it is protective.
But it's also changing, isn't it? The notes mention a modern revival. What's happening now?
That is the exciting part. For a long time, this food was looked down upon even by people from the region. It was peasant food.
Right.
But now you see a new generation of chefs in Warsaw, in Kiev, in Belgrade, who are reclaiming it with immense pride.
What are they doing?
They're doing deconstructed borscht. They are making gourmet pierogi with high-end ingredients like duck confit. They are elevating the Balkan grill. They are taking this heritage and saying, this is valuable, this has technique, this is our story.
So it's reasserting its identity in a globalized world.
Exactly. It's stepping out of the shadow of survival food and stepping into the light of culinary heritage. And the world is finally paying attention.
I want to leave our listeners with the final provocative thought from our source material. It really struck me.
It's a powerful thought.
In a world of instant gratification, where we can get a strawberry in December and a tomato in January, where everything is fast, what can we learn from a cuisine that is built entirely on patience? What can we learn from the foresight of storing up for winter?
I think we learn that there is deep flavor in waiting. There is deep value in working with the seasons rather than fighting against them. And maybe, most importantly, there's a profound comfort in food that is designed from its very DNA to take care of you when the world outside is cold and gray.
Beautifully said. That is it for our deep dive into Eastern European cuisine. Go eat some fermented foods, support your local dumpling maker, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.
Stay curious.